Hi everyone, and welcome back to Mission 1820. In this week's episode of Have You Ever Wondered? If you're just joining us, we're in a series called Books of the Bible, and we've been giving introductions into each book of the Bible in just 5 minutes or less. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to this week's book. Now, this week we're in the book of Acts. This is the 5th book of the New Testament, and it's also the second of a 2-volume set, which also includes the book of Luke. Now, both of these books are addressed to Theophilus, and both of them were written by the author of Luke. Now, the book of Acts also is known as the Acts of the Apostle. This book is a narrative history of the early Christian church after the ascension of Jesus into heaven. The book essentially stands between the Gospels and the Epistles, and it's a bridge between the life of Jesus and the ministry of the Apostle Paul, while at the same time, it's describing how believers were empowered by the Holy Spirit to spread the gospel of Christ. The book of Acts has 28 chapters and can be divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is the witness in Jerusalem, covered in chapters 1 verse 1 to chapter 8 verse 4. Part 2 is the witness in Judea and Samaria. This is in chapters 8 verse 5 through chapter 12 verse 25. And then the third part is the witness to the end of the earth, and this is in chapters 13 through 28. Now, inside these 28 chapters, there are some very key events taking place, such as Jesus' ascension to heaven. You read about the coming of the Holy Spirit during Pentecost. You read about the lame man being healed, but most importantly, you're going to read about the conversion of Saul into the Apostle Paul on the road to Damascus. The book of Acts includes a lot of people in there, but just a few. You're going to read about Peter and John. You'll read about Stephen the martyr. You read about Paul, James, who was Jesus' half-brother, and you read about Timothy. You see, the first 12 chapters of Acts are largely concerned with the Apostle Peter, who was the early leader of the Jewish Christian church to Jerusalem. And it was also instrumental in the extension of the gospel message to the Gentiles. Now, this was accomplished through his response to that vision that he had in chapter 10 about the clean and the unclean animals. The second half of the book is devoted almost entirely to the ministry of the Apostle Paul, who from chapter 9, who is formerly known as Saul the persecutor, he was persecuting those who were of the way and those who were of the church. During the course of Paul's 3 missionary journeys, as well as his journey to captivity in Rome, Paul took the message of the gospel to all the places he visited throughout the Roman Empire and eventually straight to Rome itself. But unfortunately, as we said, Paul's last trip to Rome is actually going to be in chains. Now, Acts is the only biblical book that chronicles the history of the church immediately after Jesus' ascension. As such, the book provides us with a valuable account of how the church was able to grow and actually spread from Jerusalem out into all the rest of the Roman Empire. In only 3 decades, that small group of frightened believers in Jerusalem transformed into an empire-wide movement of people who had committed their lives to Jesus Christ. So why is this book important for us? Well, in virtually every chapter of this book, apostles such as Peter and Paul boldly present the gospel to as many people and groups as they possibly can. The apostles fully embrace that commission set forth by Jesus when he tells us to share the gospel to every creature. You see, too often, we ourselves struggle with fears over how others are going to react to our faith or how they're going to react when we share the gospel to them. The book of Acts encourages us to walk more closely with God so that we might make Christ's name more known with the boldness of the apostles. So with that, I hope this introduction is going to help get you started in the book of Acts. So God bless, and thanks for watching.